right. Thank you for being with me today, Mr. Fernandez.
Well, thanks for having me, Julio.
Thank you very much. Mr. Fernandez, I'm going to introduce you real quick to my audience. Mr. Fernandez is an area manager at Mattress Firm. He's a multi-year $1 million writer and a tremendous sales professional. I had the privilege to shadow him in a sales situation, and it really was a pleasure doing so. So today we're going to be discussing. Thank you. We're going to be discussing Maslow's hierarchy and how it pertains to sales. So,
Fantastic.
if you'd like to say anything before we start, or if you want, we can just get into it.
Well, yes, just want to say thank you for that introduction. I am an area sales manager at Mattress Firm. I've been here quite some time now, close to 7 years, and I would say, as a sales professional, moving into this interview, one of the neatest things that you get to do as a sales professional is continue to learn, right? And it's one of the gifts it's a gift that keeps on giving, is the ability to continue to learn and adapt. And the only way to improve is to continue to find ways, to learn and just be better at mastering your craft. So thank you for the introduction. We can move right into it, and let's get started.
Wow, thanks. All right, let's do it. So I have prepared some questions here for you, and the first question is, what? And this is just going to be a general question type of thing. If you want to expand in a different direction, feel free to do so. The first one is just going to introduce the Maslow's hierarchy, the pyramid. So the question is, what are the components of Maslow's hierarchy? And I also have those here just for our reference, if you don't. And yeah, go ahead.
Well, I would say, from my understanding on Maslow's hierarchy, it's a system, um, a way to reach a self-actualization, right?
Okay.
So, if I'm not mistaken, you have your base, which will be your physical needs,
Right.
and then you move into, the need for safety and belongingness, love, and respect, and then you get to self-actualization. Um, if I'm not mistaken, that's on a very
Exactly.
broad spectrum, but somewhere along those lines on there.
Absolutely
And I would
nailed it.
say,
Yeah.
oh, that's good.
Yeah.
You have to remember.
Yeah, it's a long list. That's why I was pulling it up, because like, who just has that in their head? But obviously you do.
Going down memory lane.
Yeah.
Now, how it pertains to sales and sales in the sales profession.
Which leads me to the next question: is basically, how can we use the first or basic level of that hierarchy, physical needs, in our sales profession?
How does it pertain to it? So
Yeah.
in terms,
Yeah, like
okay, well,
yeah, more or less.
I would say, to start off, right, if we're going to discuss physical needs in the sales profession, right?
Right.
And this is going to apply on a very broad term in just a profession of sales.
Right.
Right.
Be it to your particular field or in sales in general.
Right, in sales in general. So in my particular field, when we get into the art of selling, right, there's a physical need of being able to just find a place, right? Being able to find your place in this world and an opportunity just to make an impact and change someone's life. So
Right.
physical would be a sense of being able to keep a roof over your head. If you have children, provide for them, and pay your bills and continue to move along, right?
Right.
So, as you progress through this field of your art, your chosen profession, the only way you're going to drive sales is, first of all, finding your place and finding that physical net, that we need, that physical security, right? And once you've been able to attain your physical security, you can continue to work towards mastering your craft and bettering your craft, right? And
Makes
there's a saying that says, if you're so good, why aren't you better, right? It's a saying that our CEO in our company, our ex-CEO,
Okay.
Steve Stacker, used to say. It was a saying he would say, if you're so good, why aren't you better?
Right.
We can apply that in this particular case. Well, just like having any type of physical need or physical want, once you've secured the basic needs of life, food, water,
Right.
shelter, if you want to attain something else, if you're that great, then be better and go attain it. And the only way you're going to attain that is by being better in your craft, right? And if we tie it into the sales on how we drive sales, the only way you can drive sales is if you're able to perfect your trade, be able to connect with the customer on a much better level, and being able to earn
Subconscious
their
level.
business.
Yeah.
Right? The mutual gains approach or any other approach you're going to take
Right.
in a particular sales environment. So, acquiring that physical state of being able to have your physical needs met, I would say is very critical to the success of anyone's growth in the sales profession.
Beautiful. Well, moving on, we can move up the pyramid, and we can say, well, how we've addressed the physical aspect of it, and that is tremendous information. What you're saying, it makes total sense to me. If we don't have the basic needs met, how are we as professionals going to be able to go out there and do a good job in the art of sales? So
Right.
we've gotten past the physiological needs. Now we move on to the needs for safety, right? For security and protection. How can we address the safety needs and the need for security and protection in relation to sales?
Well,
Or as a sales professional, or in general?
right, as a sales professional. So if you to address the need for safety, first we have to look at the culture, right?
Okay.
And again, this is going to be on a broad sales profession, right?
Right.
And any given sales um, company or sales environment,
Mm-hmm.
the culture is going to have an incredible role on someone feeling the need of, or someone feeling safety
Right.
in their job, right? Safety in their income,
Or even personal
job
culture,
security,
right?
their
If you're a person, you're by yourself doing sales.
right? Or even if you're by yourself, you're doing business to business or you're self-employed, in any of those instances, you know, safety is really important in terms of safety of job security, safety of, communicating with customers, safety of finding yourself able to progress,
Mm.
right, in your environment because you feel comfortable,
Mm.
right, and finding that comfort zone and finding that stability,
Right.
right, is going to incorporate into that line of safety. Um, and I think that the underline of that would be culture. Culture in any environment, a true, authentic culture, organic culture, is going to be able to allow for someone to feel safe and secure in their place of work where they can be innovative, right?
Right.
And they can take charge and take the lead and be able to come out with great ideas to continue to drive the organization, to the top, to a winning position and continue to win, right? And
Right.
not just maintain. So in this profession, the way we're going to drive sales is important to being able to um, find that security in what we do, right? Find that happiness, right? That's self-fulfilling prophecy of, you got to be happy,
Mm.
or not self-fulfilling prophecy at that point, but finding your happiness and your security, and and maintaining it,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. That
But
makes a
at the
lot of
same
sense.
time, it does. At the same time, while you're comfortable, you can't stay in that comfort zone, right? So
Okay.
that fine line of crossing your security and safety
Okay.
of your comfort zone, but being comfortable enough to leave that comfort zone, and that's where innovation really is birthed.
Wow, that's really insightful. It's kind of like do or don't do to do. It's kind of a little bit, it sounds a little backwards, but at the same time it makes sense, because it's like if you're not feeling if you're not feeling safe, you can't kind of take that little risk to be not safe. You know, so that makes a lot of sense. And having a good culture in any organization is going to provide that security, like you're saying, and give you the confidence to take that risk to not be so safe. So that
Absolutely.
I think that's what you're trying to say, and based
Yeah.
on yeah, that makes that's actually a really nice insight. Thanks for that. Well, moving on, up the hierarchy, we can go to belongingness and love needs. Friends and lovers. So friends and lovers in sales. We have the workings of a telenovela.
All right. Uh-oh. Yeah. It's belongingness. It's an pretty interesting word, right?
Okay.
We especially hear it more frequently now amongst your millennial age group, right? Where everyone needs to feel belonging. We hear it more now in this era.
Right.
Um, and I think I think everyone needs to feel loved, right? Because love is the foundation for any relationship,
Mm.
you know. And if applied to the sales field and as a sales professional, you need to feel like you belong and you need to feel loved, right? Um, and if you feel like you belong and you feel like you're loved, then I think um, it gives you an opportunity to better service your customers, right? And it's just on a subconscious level. People who don't feel loved and don't feel like they belong
Right.
are typically
Bitter.
yeah, bitter. That's a great word. They're typically bitter. And you can see on a performance level, you see that the performance typically doesn't match up that of someone who feels loved and feel like they belong or have, the safety and security, or even their physical needs met, right? As we continue to move along this Maslow's hierarchy.
Right.
So the importance of belonging and the importance of love, I think, goes hand in hand with expectations to be able to continue to grow and succeed as a sales professional. And more importantly, how do you deliver a great presentation, a great product to somebody if you're not comfortable in your own skin, or if you're not
Right.
comfortable with what you're doing, you're not gonna perform well.
And that's a great
Especially
sorry to interrupt you, but that's a great segue into the next portion of the hierarchy, which is esteem needs. You know?
perfect. Yes. Um, so I think that as they're all important, I would say belonging and love is critical to self-actualization to get into that point,
Right.
right? Because if you don't love yourself, if you don't feel like you belong,
You're
or
not
you don't
gonna
feel
have
like
self-esteem or respect for yourself.
there's any self-esteem, and you're not going to be able to execute well,
Mm.
and your performers are going to suffer,
Okay.
and ultimately your customers will suffer because they're going to notice, they're going to feel it.
Right. I like that.
You give them 100% of what you're doing, then you're not going to win.
Mm.
You're going to lose business overall, and long term, you might find yourself, promoted to customer very fast.
I don't think that's a good thing in the sales profession.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You have to become and you have to stay a commodity in the sales profession. And that's
Okay,
the
that's a
idea.
good tip.
Part of the top 20%, right?
Become a commodity. That's a good tip.
Absolutely, you have to become a commodity. But again, you can't. You won't become a commodity if you don't have if your physical needs are met, right? If
Right.
you don't have safety in what you're doing, if you don't feel safe, or if you don't feel like you belong, or you don't feel any love, then ultimately you're not going to be able to drive your sales like you need to, right? You're not going to be able to execute the way you want, and ultimately your performance will suffer. And I think that any sales environment, that's again, it's part of the culture. Any sales environment is going to have to deliver that love and need of belonging, right? And it's hard to
Esteem.
find it.
Yeah.
What we do.
Well, this has been an excellent conversation, and if we can move on to the pinnacle of the hierarchy, which is self-actualization, as you've alluded to. If you could briefly just talk a little bit about self-actualization. We're all trying to do that, and it seems like a really interesting topic in the field of sales.
Right. Very interesting topic. I think that Maslow hit it right on the head with that. The ultimate pinnacle will be self-actualization, right? And part of anybody's growth in sales is, right, the way I've seen it and I've learned it to be, is you look at two different phases, right? I think this is going to pretty much wrap it all up together. And when someone takes a position in sales, whether they're veteran or not, new or old alike, in a new corporation, a new company, they're just taking a leap of faith and working for themselves in the sales field. At first, they're dependent, right? They're dependent on
Okay.
their employer.
Okay.
They're dependent on their trainers. Dependent on a whole group and influences that will help them along their way, right?
Right.
And as they progress, if they've passed their probation period, right, and
Right.
they passed it, and they're liked, and they're starting to be loved, I would say after they are dependent, they become independent, right?
Okay.
And that's when people start to be, you see the confidence,
Okay.
right? That's when people become very confident, is when they feel like they're independent. They don't need help from anybody. They're confident in what they're doing. They're winning. They've adapted a winning culture. They feel like they belong. They feel like they found their place in what they're doing.
Right.
And they continue to move along and succeed. And the ultimate step would be interdependence, right? Which is mixing and knowing that you're good enough to do it on your own, but you're not good enough, or excuse me, you're good enough to do it on your own, but you'll succeed even more with others, right?
Okay.
And that's what I think comes around. I think for someone to be able to self-actualize or self-actualization and knowing that you're finding your place, right, and finding that confidence and that you belong and knowing how to lead, I think someone needs to know how to follow as well, right? And that's the same process, knowing how to lead and knowing how to follow, right? And becoming interdependent is all about knowing how to delegate, knowing how to work with people, and knowing how to depend on others to meet your deadlines and your goals, right? So you can achieve much greater results that way. And I think any successful company is doing it. You look at Google, for instance, or Amazon. They're interdependent amongst all their vendor partners, right? Their complete staff and their logistics teams, and they're interdependent. And it's upon everyone else, instead of just their executive team, it's a collective.
Right.
And that's how they're able to execute on a global level and just reach heights that no other company has in the past.
Right.
They kind of set a standard now of what the new decade and the new century is going to look like in terms of commerce, especially e-commerce.
Right. No, that makes total sense. In the sphere of business, as we've been talking here, from that basic level all the way up to that self-actualization, it's very interesting how you make that distinction of first starting as being dependent and getting past that probation period and not being promoted to customer, and then getting to that that independent stage where you have more higher order needs fulfilled, like esteem, and get that confidence, that respect that you feel for yourself. And then finally at the pinnacle of self-actualization, where you can actually feel comfortable taking a little bit of risks and becoming interdependent with other people in the organization to drive business to a whole another level for your own personal data and for the data of the company as a whole. Well, Mr. Fernandez, I'd like to thank you so much for the opportunity to interview with you. And again, I'd like to thank you for the wonderful experience I had on that shadow. That's going to be it for today.
Awesome. Well, it was a pleasure, Julio. It was a pleasure to have you. And thank you for allowing me to, thank you for interviewing me.
Thank you.
I hope you have a great night. And I hope you pass your class.
All right. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Have a good night.
You too.